Does it work? And is it complete? Let's find out. I'm flying blind. Bear with me. Oh, nice. Because I set this up. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I'm there. I'm there, and I'm a minute early. Because a little behind the scenes. Oh, hold on. I just realized that I have this mic here, so I don't have to speak that loud. I had set up OBS. I had set up YouTube Studio, and then when I came back, my YouTube Studio screen was no longer there. So I just clicked start streaming on OBS, and and so I don't know what's happening on YouTube right now. So let me find that. There we go. Studio.youtube. Yes, I found you. Okay. I'm gonna find you. Bear with me. Manage. There we go. Manage. And there we go. There is, now it's set up, and there is chat here. So, if you'd like to join and you'd like to chat, I am here. And other things to think about. Fascinating to think about where everyone is in the world. Oops, whoa. Because I am here in Korea, and it's 10 a.m. here, and that might not be the best fit for everyone, but 시카타나이. 소용없어. What? 어쩔 수 없어. 어쩔 수 없어. 어쩔 수 없어. Okay. And give me 3 minutes to find my bearings. And if I remember correctly, yes. So in the description of the video, I put the agenda for today. So if you'd like to follow along and see what I'm talking about, it's there. And after that, I will get started. This is fascinating. All right. I hope you are amazingly well. Okay, so given the hold on, manage my broadcast. I need to see. I'm gonna make sure I'm available for anyone that wants to chat, and then I'm gonna start. talk to myself. Sup? All right. We get started. There we go. So this is there's a link for this on here on the description of the video, and the theme that I wanted to share about my latest discoveries. We'll start there, and then something else I do want to point out is, so I'm going to put a link to the Discord on this video, and if you have any questions that you'd like to get answered by a fellow INTP, or by me, if you find that you resonate with me, and you resonate with me for another reason, then go ahead, go to the Discord, or comment on this video, and I will gladly answer your questions. I've noticed two things. One is that the live format feels very nice, actually. This feels quite nice. And the other thing is, I quite like being the answerer of questions. And I've noticed that Gary V also is quite good in that format. Q&A. If you're following in the MBTI world, INTPs are considered quite responding. And you might notice that yourself as an INTP, that if you're sitting there and people are asking you questions, you can engage very easily. And actually, me asking questions is quite natural too. It's just the initiative to do something is less native to me. So if I'm an explorer, if I'm asking questions, or if someone's asking me questions, I'm a fish in water. But outside of that, less natural. So what we're doing right now is very natural to me, where I'm finding out if this is right. I'm asking questions about the world, and if you ask me questions, I would love that as well. So I prepared something to share with you: impact versus completeness, the theme. And the background of this theme is my latest experiment has been exploring the phenomenon of social media, and it's turned into my lab, and I'd like to share what I've learned so far. And the first thing that comes to mind here is, I just want to point out that there's something Gary Vee says all the time, which is that social media is free. And that's so fascinating to me because there's so much leverage. This video will be watched by however many people it is watched by. And it's up when I'm sleeping. It's up all the time. And that's the amazing thing about, first of all, YouTube, is there's so much leverage here. It can reach so many people. There's so much potential. As long as the quality is good, then the algorithm will share it with other people, and it's free. So I'd like to share that for INTPs watching, that is a fascinating thing to me, because it turns the science of meeting people, the science of reaching people, into a laboratory. And so that is my latest thing I'm diving into. And I'd like to first really talk about why. And the first answer I have for why is, why not? And in my own life recently, I've released the need for a meaning or purpose in my life completely in general. And one big reason is because I realized that it's not necessary. When I was a child, when you were a child, when I was a child, life wasn't about meaning. Life was about life. So when I realized that these kinds of people, these kids, are not living life for some meaning, wow, I was released to have any meaning in my own life, and I was able to just think about what I want to pursue. Fascinatingly, maybe that is the more true definition of what meaning in life is. After you release the need to have a meaning, perhaps that's when you discover it, right? The second reason why I'm pursuing social media is I feel I was first of all taking it for granted, and then I was dismissing it too quickly. And I start to say to myself, there must be reasons why this exists. There must be reasons why social media exists, and I'd like to explore it and find those reasons and explain it to you. Some words that I've really been fascinated by are impact, marketing, action, communication. And yeah, as I say this, I'm realizing I really am taking this for granted, because the largest companies in the world right now are all social media / discovery type companies. And to treat them as anything else, to treat them as things that are not dictating our current reality, is to underestimate them. And so I'd love to understand them completely, as deeply as possible, and then I'll share my discoveries with you. So in my exploration, I've come to realize this one principle, which is that communication is unavoidably lossy. And let me put this in parentheses, and that's if they're listening. Because the most lossy thing about communication is that they might not even be listening. So that's step one, right? But that's been the realization, is impactful communication is inherently lossy. To say something with impact, you must leave something out. And there's an inherent trade-off between impact and completeness. What I have discovered in my own life is I love completeness. I love explaining something so much, so completely, so clearly, or like not clearly, but so accurately that you understand the whole thing. However, what I realized, observing other creators and doing experiments on Twitter, that's my latest laboratory. The more I do that, the less impact I can have. That's the inherent trade-off. And this is not like there is a purpose for doing this. There's a purpose for communicating with impact. It is a form of delivered value. It creates clarity over confusion, and that clarity is a service to the listener. And I came up with some analogy examples. One is a bathroom sign. If I want to know where the bathroom is, I don't want to know anything else. And so someone says, oh, the bathroom is here. The clarity of this sign is a service. I don't have to keep looking. Now, here's another example. This is like the reality of the marketplace. Everyone's trying to get your attention. So how are you going to communicate with someone understanding this reality? You know, I don't care about. Let me talk about. Let me talk about some real reflections I'm making already, looking at this set of advertisements. Each of these real estate agents are starting with their name. They're all giving them your name. I would say maybe this is a cultural thing, but maybe in Korea the name is like the most important part. But you know, my reflection is it. I would question that. I would question that. Gary Vee's example is when he talked about doing a lemonade stand as a kid. He realized that people were putting the sign up like this big and like writing a whole bunch of text. And he realized that that was not being compassionate to the people passing by. People driving by in their cars, they won't be able to read that. So what he did was he put a single huge word, lemonade, and then he put the price, $1. I realize that is compassion. That trumps anything else. It cuts through the noise. So that is a reflection I've been making, which is how to cut through the noise. And cutting through the noise is a service. So for a real estate agent, I wonder what is that one statement you can make that would cut through all of this, where you would look at their sign. Imagine if they just took everything out of this and they said instead, what does a real estate think? I would have to think more about what a real estate message that cuts through would be. But something like 200 homes sold, sell yours. Something like that. That is an example of removing completeness and optimizing for impact. And the best in social media seems to be to give them a clear reason to pay attention, some hook, and then only after you've gotten their attention, you can expand into providing more value, context, and detail. And the thing I've noticed here is tweet threads. So here are some examples of tweet threads. Like, look at this one in the middle here. It's building an online audience. If you read that one, you see that it doesn't tell you anything yet. It's the only purpose of this tweet is to get your attention and tell you what it's going to tell you, so that in the tweet thread, it can give you the value. But if it just started telling you, then it would not be being compassionate to the reader. Like, does the reader even care? Well, first, it should give you a reason to care. It should tell you exactly what you're looking for, what it is going to tell you, and then you can go into the tweet thread. And that is, once again, this trade-off of impact versus completeness. Yeah, the first tweet can just give you all the information, but what you lose is impact then. So the impact can be something like you're missing out on money tweeting this way. Or I would like to reflect even more on how to have even more impact than that, because that's what, 10 words. You're losing money, or stop acting broke, or what I realize is these things are not clickbaity or whatever. It's actually a service to the listener to cut through all of the noise. And the analogy is that a laser is focused, and because it is focused, it can cut through things. And when you use a lantern, you're not going to be able to cut through anything. And the lantern is useful, but not when you need a laser, right? So when you need to get someone's attention, you don't start explaining things. You instead say something that is designed to get their attention. When you need the laser, you grab the laser. And the most viral tweets are sharp, clear, and wrong in a useful way. A great example to me is Dan Coe. That's one example. And then what I realized about Gary Vee, I've been really paying attention to how Gary Vee talks, because he's so good at saying things so simply. Like, the things he's talking about, he can say in a very complex way, but he's going to say it so that in one sentence you get what he's talking about, and then the next sentence you get what he's talking about. He got so good at doing that in a lifetime of doing sales and marketing. And that is because he's optimizing for impact. Because that way, people can get what he's talking about, and then they can start having a conversation with him. And after they start having a conversation with him, you go into Q&A, and in the Q&A, he can clarify what he's talking about. Because no matter what I say, there's a way that you can misunderstand me. And a recent realization that really set me free was realizing that's unavoidable. People will misunderstand you. If you're going to speak with impact, if you're going to say something short, concisely, you will not be complete. But in order to reach people, you need to speak incompletely. And what I realize is, okay, like Gary Vee's YouTube titles are an example of this. You can start now. Oh, well, like you can caveat, you can start now all you want. You can say, oh, well, you can start now as long as you have enough money, blah, blah, blah. There are all these caveats you can add, but then people start asking, okay, so what are you saying? What is the statement you are making that we can talk about? Well, one thing to say about adding all those caveats is you are no longer having a conversation. Now you're talking to yourself. So maybe one analogy one way we can say this is we want to start the conversation. We don't want to have the whole conversation by ourselves. If we want to talk, if you want to be someone that can reach people and talk like Gary Vee or Dan Koh. Those are the two people that I love consuming their content. And I love to I want to reverse engineer why. So I'd like to pause there, and I'm noticing, there's some people viewing right now. So I would love to give you a chance to talk about it, ask questions about this part. You can read this over. If you have any questions or you'd like to make your own statement about it, go ahead. And then I'll move on to the next part. Hey guys. But that's what I noticed. And to really sum up the first realization is impactful communication is inherently lossy. If I'm going to say something that reaches you in a sentence, there's so much I have to leave out. And so with that, so if there's if at any point you want to talk, then just say anything. The second realization, or the second thing I'd like to talk about is how Twitter has been the real place where I've been learning about this. Yesterday, I started posting to Twitter. And I've been reflecting on how Twitter is a fascinating place where you post something and you get immediate feedback. Twitter has Alex Hormozy. Okay, I'll finish this thought here, and then I'll talk about that. Twitter is a fascinating laboratory where it's set up as an algorithm, and you get immediate feedback about how impactful your post has been. So we're talking about how the trade-off between impact and completeness. You see the people that get the most attention, and you learn immediately what it is people find valuable. That's what I find fascinating. So that's how I discovered this whole thing about completeness. I realized when I was posting tweets that were more complete, I didn't even want to read my own tweets. It was just too noisy. I would ask myself, like, what am I saying here actually? And I think actually that's a great heuristic to think about in tweets is you're not having the whole conversation yourself. You are starting the conversation. And that's the way I put it here. Twitter is not for complete thoughts, it's to spark thought. It's to start the conversation, right? Okay, so let's go back over. Let's talk about Jordan. How are you doing? Good to see you. Hormozy's messaging. You know, Hormozy. I'm gonna jump forward and show you something else that I realized, which is that action has the same trade-off as communication. Absolutely, you're totally right, Jordan. That's like the Danko is someone that I follow and listen to a lot, and yeah, it's, more and more I'm realizing that's what he's been talking about, and there's so much I want to talk about there, but Hormozy, I think, is someone that is highly outcome oriented and highly action oriented, and so he understands this very deeply. You can only yeah, Danko is the GOAT. You can only take one action at a time. In the same vein, you can only say one thing at a time. And so what these like excellent communicators realize is if I can only say one thing at a time, I might as well optimize that one thing I'm gonna say. And I think that made Hormozy an excellent, very natural person for things like Twitter, because he says, like, okay, yeah, you can talk about this stuff all you want, but what's the one thing I want to do? And so that's what I think about Hormozy is he very naturally understands that what's the one most impactful thing. What's the most impactful thing I can do? And then in communication, he's going to say, what's the one most impactful thing I can say? So I've been exploring Twitter yesterday. I started exploring Twitter yesterday, and I've been using ChatGPT to really adjust how I communicate, and just essentially just being open-minded to the idea that, you know, if I'm not getting very much attention, there must be something wrong, or there must be something, yeah, sure, wrong with how I'm writing, such that people don't want to engage with it. And so that's been a fascinating exploration. Generally, what I've been doing is I've been putting my thoughts and asking ChatGPT viral version of this, and then I've been just reflecting on what it is about these tweets that ChatGPT is trying to do. And if I could sum it up in one sentence, or sum it up really quickly, I would say that what ChatGPT is trying to do is it's trying to make the tweet consumable for a scroller. Someone's just scrolling by, they can like, without even trying, they've read your tweet. And that was the main issue with my tweet without that treatment, is people scroll by and they can ask themselves, what was that tweet about? And it's really hard to tell. That's one thing I've realized. And An excellent thing I got from tweeting is I've impacted myself. So if you'd like to follow me on Twitter, this is my ID. Yeah. And short attention span, by the way. I tweeted about that. I said attention span. Attention spans are not getting shorter. Attention spans are not getting shorter. People just have many more options. And I think this is absolutely true. I know for myself. Who was it? I think. Who was it that said it? Okay. Anyways, someone made this point. Attention spans are not getting shorter because people are always talking about, for example, how they binged a whole Netflix show in an afternoon or in a week. Well, that's hundreds of hours of attention for one thing. So I think it's quite overblown, this idea of short attention span. I think my own tweet taught me, which is a fascinating phenomenon. My own tweet taught me that it's really not about how attention spans are getting shorter. It's just that people have way more options. Some other tweets that have taught me something, which is, what's the one about painting or picture? There we go. This has taught me a lot about what I think how I can think about Twitter. Most people mistake impactful writing for shallow thinking. That's why they say so much and reach no one. TikTok is on my list of experiments, and I will get there. But I'm quite new to this whole social media thing. So here's point one, which is that if you want to be impactful, then you must say only one thing at a time. Now the question is, how do you ever end up saying anything at all then? Well, my realization is what you do is you say one thing at a time, and then you say many things. You say one thing at a time over and over and over again until you start to make a bigger picture point. And that's what I've realized these creators are doing. They're saying something that is very easily misunderstood. And then they're saying another thing that's very easily misunderstood. And if you say like the pixels in a picture, if you say enough things, people start to understand what you're saying. But if you say all of it at once, no one will understand anything you're saying. And that's also true about action. So Twitter's been a fascinating, yeah, exactly. Just thousands and thousands of BVs. That's a point about marketing too. Twitter has been a fascinating experiment because it has also taught me a lot about what I think. And I see a lot of parallels between action and communication. To act is to be wrong. Every move leaves something out. That's the price. Two directions at once is no direction at all. That impacted me deeply too. And that's also true about communication. If you say many things at the same time, you end up diluting every single one of those things. My goal and purpose. I talked about that at the beginning, and I'll show you again. First of all, I find it fascinating. Second of all, why not? Third of all, I think we greatly underestimate the impact that this form of media is having just on the world in general. I mean, it is literally shaping the reality we live in, and so I find it short-sighted to not open myself up to understanding and exploring it and really getting a grasp on what people are doing. Which also says that I think it's it says a lot about what human beings are. So let's go. Like, I shared with you a few tweets, and one thing that really surprised me. Let's answer that question. Is these impactful tweets really make you think about a lot of things, even though they're not complete. Sure. Even though they're not complete, they spark thought. And that really surprised me because, I value completeness so much. But there's something missing when you try and be complete in your communication. Similar concepts are show, don't tell in movies. And something that I hate in bad anime is when they over-explain something. They just like go into this whole dialogue, and they don't actually show anything. That's an example of this like trying to say too many things at once just kills the momentum of the story. So say one thing. And so about why not? I talked about this idea, this realization I had recently. The why not idea is linked to life as a child. What I realized is meaning and purpose in my life is not fundamental to my life. I lived a whole childhood, and I enjoyed my childhood so much, having zero meaning or purpose in my life. And so what if I returned to that state? Life doesn't have to have a meaning or purpose, and it can be so much fun. And then what I realized was, if I'm like that, or if I think that way, then right away there's so much I want to do. And so in a paradoxical way, by letting go of meaning and purpose, perhaps that's the easiest way to discover my meaning and purpose. And actually, I have left my day job. I left in January, and I'm taking a sort of sabbatical right now and exploring a number of experiments, and this is my current experiment. Another example of, by the way, thank you for the questions, Jordan. Another example of this clarity stuff. When you're giving a direction, less is more. When there's danger, you say run, and everyone knows what to do. But if I say, instead of run, I say, oh, there's a Burger King 2 streets down, and by the way, don't eat there. I had a really bad experience. And stomach aches are bad. Like, no one wants to know any of that. They want to know what you're trying to tell them. And another experiment I'm taking, which I'm exploring in this cast, is trusting my explanation when I reach the end of my words. Even when my explanation doesn't feel complete, when I have said all the words of my explanation, I just stop, and I pause, and I wait. Because something that I often used to do is wonder if the person got it. and then see if I can add any more words to be more complete. But what I realized is all of that is an illusion. And I was just diluting the impact of what I was saying. Stopping also communicates trust to the listener. If I say what I want to say, and then I pause, I'm communicating to the listener that this will take some time, but you will get it. And for sure, social media is a fascinating challenge. And I think it's a challenge that as I reflect on it more, I realize ignoring it is such a strange, like ostrich putting their head in the sand kind of thing. It's something that is just so current to our times. It is the reason why the largest companies in the world are the largest. So what am I doing? Ignoring it. It's kind of stupid if you think about it. So back to realization 3 here. Action is another thing that I've struggled with in my life, just like communication. And what I've realized is action has that same trade-off. You're either clear about what you're going to do, or you can seek completeness in all the possibilities. Clarity or completeness, choose one. The best actions are wrong because they happen. Put your left foot forward. That's a clear direction. Why? Well, if I tell you why, then I reduce the chances that it's actually going to happen. Here's a relevant tweet that I made. Oh, I talked about it earlier. Wrong. To act is to be wrong. Every move leaves something out. That's the price. 2 directions at once is no direction at all. And that gave me a ton of freedom. No matter what action you take next, rest assured it's wrong. The price of taking any action is incompleteness. What is a complex movement? It is only the combination of many simple movements, like paint strokes in a painting. Like that. That stroke right there, that's quite wrong. But these hundreds of strokes altogether creates a face. If you want to find the completely right action to take, it doesn't exist. All of the actions are wrong and right for many reasons. You can justify any action and you can rule out any action. And there's a Colin Powell quote that I find relevant that has sunk in deeply for me. He has this rule, a 40-70 rule, which I feel, which was his way of optimizing for action, optimizing for informed action. You never make a decision with less than 40% of the information available, and you don't gather more than 70% of the information available. And I think the idea behind this is you gather exactly enough information to be clear on what action to take, and then you stop gathering information. Because any more information is just fear-based, and it won't actually change your decision. That's cool, Jordan. Thanks. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you're finding it valuable. I'm really sharing a lot of realizations that these realizations are the reason why I'm on this live right now. I have no idea what I'm doing. No matter how much information I gather about this, I won't be any more prepared for this live, but I'm here. And that's the best I can do. The link to that sheet is in the description of this live. So you can, anyone who wants to follow along to what I wrote, you can click the document in the description and read along. So, welcome viewers. The next part is talking about the things I've been consuming and what I've learned from them. But I kind of want to just leave this fully for another time. I think we're running low on time here, but I'd love to share with you a list, just a general list of the things I've been consuming, just to jog your memory, and then if you have any questions about any of them, then you can ask. So here's a short list of things that I've been consuming recently. If you have any questions about quantum mechanics, that's a very fascinating, rabbit hole I dove down. Here's some books. I will put, let me put a link to this. I'll put a link to this in the chat. If anyone would like to ask questions about these things I've consumed, read about. I will say that I'm gonna make videos about like a lot of these books, because especially let me bold the books that have been the most impactful for me recently. Yeah, this one. These books I've read in the past month. That's cool. These books I read in the past month or two, and there's so much I can say about them. And this one right here, Daigo, if you're familiar with MBTI, I see him as an INTP. I resonate so much with his way of thinking about mastery. For example, one thing he wrote about. So, by the way, Daigo is he's a famous fighting video game like champion. He's considered like really the greatest probably fighting game player of all time. And there's one section he wrote about where like naturally with every game that comes out, people share like the best practice strategies, and they say, oh, if you're not playing that way, then you're not playing optimally. But what Daigo writes about is like, yeah, sure, that's going to get you quite far, but it's not going to get you to the top. To get to the top, you need to discover and learn from your own play and figure out things that no one else has figured out. In order to do that, you need to be willing to believe in the things that you have observed, and then you just keep on grinding and like developing these theories out. When you develop enough of those, you reach this level that no one else can reach in whatever field you are in. And I loved reading that because it's very much what I believe. And it really lends to an experimental mindset. Because, yeah, sure. For example, on YouTube. Best practices is great. There's a lot to learn from them. But best practices are not truth. They are just discoveries. And as long as that's put in perspective, then there is no ceiling to how high you can reach. So I found that book, The Will to Keep Winning, very inspiring. Where is it? It's right here. The Will to Keep Winning. I recommend it. And I talk about it because it's the least dense of those books I read. Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. I can pull up some notes, but right now I've read it quite a while ago, so I don't recall immediately what I want to talk about. And Mr. Beast, interesting. I'm curious about what it is about Mr. Beast that reflects what Daigo taught. Let me pull up my notes about meditations. Wow, this is very interesting to me because I wrote these notes without thinking that, nope, I don't think I actually wrote notes for this one. This is a great reason, I'm realizing right now, this is a great reason to write notes about books so I can always come back to them later. Great note to self. Yeah. So that's one book I can talk about. But I'd like to move on to a question that I told someone that I would answer. So that concludes the realizations. That's segment one. Segment two was this time I'm just sharing the books and the things that I've read and watched. And if you have any questions you'd like to talk about with those, then go ahead. And yeah, absolutely. You know, what I would say about that is I think all the examples you share, Jordan, are examples of just obsessions. And a lot of the people we idolize were equally obsessed, but they were obsessed about something that was positive. And I think I'm quite naturally obsessive as well. And so diving into something to master is very natural for me, I think. And getting obsessed with that is just like a fun, positive way to use my obsessive nature. And the obsessive things that I get into are just like fascinations and experiments, which is, for now, one of them is social media. In real-time reflection right now, I realize I have been somewhat afraid of dead air, dead time. But if it helps me think more, then it probably helps the watcher think more, think better. And so I don't think I have to be so afraid of dead air. So let's give ourselves about 30 seconds, and then I will talk about one question a person asked me, and I'll share what I think about it, and then we can wrap up. So Manish asked a question here. Let me bring it up. I'll just read it. Hey, I'm still pretty new to all this, and I don't know much about what being an INTP really means yet. But I've noticed something about myself. I get super curious and excited when something's new, especially ideas and concepts. But the moment it becomes repetitive... Oh, hold on. I want to show it. How do I do this? But the moment it becomes... Okay, let me read that again. I get super curious and excited when something's new, especially ideas or concepts. But the moment it becomes repetitive or structured, I lose all motivation. I also find it hard to stay serious about things or people for too long. Is it just a me problem, or something others here relate to too? I read this and I completely related. I'm going to put it in the chat so other people can read it. And I have something to talk about with it. So I'm pasting Manish's question in the chat so people can read it. And I completely relate. Manish, thank you for your question. And I'm going to use a bunch of things I know about, or I've realized about INTPs that I think may be helpful to you. Let me find you axes. Bear with me. There are a few things I can show you. I love Dr. K, and I think I resonate with him a lot. I think he's an INTP, like the people we're talking to here. Okay. So I'm going to start by doing a quick overview of the functions of an INTP. I'll do my best to talk about this in like a story format about who you are as an INTP. So if you're not familiar with the cognitive functions are actually what first was written about by Jung before Myers-Briggs turned it into the archetypes like INTP. But let's I'm just gonna make sure you can see this. Yeah, okay, you can see this. All right. Hold up. Okay, so who are you as an INTP if you're an INTP? Well, the thing that you live by, it's so strong that it's almost unconscious, is basically the way that I'm talking right now, which is segmenting and organizing life into a logical network of things. And then considering all those things that you've organized, you essentially expand into questions, and you make like conjectures about what that might also mean about the world. So what you end up creating is like this expanding web of conclusions that you make, and that web suggests other things about the world. You also have a very strong like relational memory. All these experiences you have and all these conclusions you make, you remember all of them quite vividly, and that's the way that you store all your data. So you may realize that somewhat unimportant, seemingly unimportant things you remember very vividly because they are events. They are sequential events in your logical reasoning, and because that happened, and because you made a conclusion about it, you still remember very deeply. And then something that you might hold very important, but you also feel a bit like you come up short doing, is other people, and the group feels like you wish you could like really support and help the group, but it doesn't feel like your strong suit, but you are still aware of it. I feel like this might not be the best. So that is what it means to be an INTP. So one thing I might recommend to you, Manish, is to really look into what that is. But the reason why I bring that up is because I think one of the most key realizations you can make when talking about your question is you can realize that there's a certain life path that I've noticed that each of the types have, and for you with your SINE, I'll put a link to this handout in the description. But for you with your SINE, an analogy you can use to think about SINE is SI are the experiences that you've had, and NE is the questions that your experiences suggest. So you might notice that in your life, this is how it seems to be oriented. Like, oh, I know this, I've explored this, I've learned this. These are some things that I don't know about, but it feels like feels like they're also really important. And so this orientation about the world might give you a lot of clarity about what it is you're doing when you get really super curious and excited when something's new. Oh, hold on. I just realized I didn't copy and paste it properly. Oop. But the moment it gets repetitive or structured, I just lose all motivation. Just lose all motivation. I find it hard to stay serious about things or people for too long. This might give you some clarity about why that happens. I feel my orientation as an INTP is I am a map builder. I am an explorer. I gather, I collect information from the whole map, and then I make sense of the map. I draw the map. That is what I feel is my strongest suit. If that is true, then it makes complete sense that once I've understood and explored something, I mean, it becomes part of the map. It's already done. I want to move on to the next thing so that I can continue to expand and understand my map. That is opposed to, like, for example, someone with NI in their stack. So if you probably, as an INTP, you probably know other INTJs. An INTJ is much more oriented like this. This is where they are, this is where they want to get to, and then they're drawing a path to get there. This is much less relatable for me. I don't really think this way. I think this way. So if you talk to an INTJ, they might find your lack of a path and your lack of a progression towards it quite unrelatable. But to me, it makes complete sense because they're doing this. We're doing this. And if, for example, you find the things I'm talking about, the realizations I'm making, valuable in this video, then it might make sense to you why this map exploration style of thinking is valuable in the world. But it won't look like this. This is also valuable, right? By the way, this is Alex Hormozy is someone that's like this, and so Alex Hormozy might find someone like me. He won't relate to me that well. I'm like this, and there are many people like this. If you look up famous INTPs, you might notice that this is what they're doing. In a way, they're undirected. But to someone who has a destination that they're getting to, I might look undirected. But I'm actually quite directed, if I understand this concept. What I'm doing is I'm exploring and making sense of of an area, and using that map to understand what I want to do next. Absolutely. Absolutely. Hegemonious, absolutely. Yeah. So once I understood that, I understood that what I'm doing is not aimless. It's not pointless. There's actually people that have lived this way and provided immense value. But it won't be a directed, outcome-oriented value. It'll be a map-making, sense-making value. While I'm on this document, I'll also talk to you about the TIFE axis that I've thought about, which is serving the collective good. People serve systems. What I've noticed about my desire for logical consistency is I believe, perhaps unconsciously, that the more logically consistent I can make the world and I can help other people see, the more the system can start to work and make sense on its own, because people understand what we're doing. And then we create this harmony among people. So what I've discovered is, unconsciously, what I feel is very important is that people understand one another. And the path that I've personally taken to get there is understanding things first, so that I can tell people, and then everyone can understand one another. And this is why I think philosophy, for example, is very important, and sharing philosophy is so important. That's opposed to the FITE axis. So thinking about an INTJ once again. An INTJ, or Alex Hormozy, who I hold as an ENTJ, they don't really think the system is that important. They think the system is there to serve what is important, which is the people. As a person, I want these things, and so we're building the system to serve the people. So you can kind of hear the difference in focus. In order to serve these people, we're building the system. However, as an INTP, you might relate more to saying, how do I build like this perfect, beautiful system that people can slot into so that we can live well. So drawing out this whole map to say, coming back to your question, you get super curious about and excited when something's new. But the moment it becomes repetitive and structured, you just lose all motivation. And you find it hard to stay serious about things or people for too long. Is it just a me problem, or is it something others relate to as well? It's not just a you problem. I would say that everyone who is NP, ENTP, INTP, ENFP, INFP, completely will relate to you completely. And the reason is because we all have that NESI axis. We all build upon our world using what we've already explored. And then using what we've already explored, we see what else there is out there that we can learn about. We are map builders. We are not outcome pursuers. That being said, ENFP, INFP, they have TE in their stack, extroverted thinking. So they have an aspect of themselves which is quite outcome oriented. It's just not the strongest part, right? So you might see my aim with this channel is somewhat to demonstrate and show how that map exploration and sense making can be valuable. So I would hope to demonstrate that in that pursuit, it becomes more clear to you and to other INTPs what our value is in this world. The other thing I want to say is, when you make sense of that as well, it shows why you often see INTPs at the edge of things. They're working for startups, not established companies. They're in science. They're discovering. They're creating new knowledge, and that's because of this dynamic of wanting like NE is higher in our stack than SI. So this unknown calls to us, and we want to, and because TI is number one, introverted thinking is number one. What is most important about this is we explore it, and then we make sense of it logically. So I hope I answered your question. Let's see if there's anything about it that I didn't cover. Yeah, I covered it well. I think I covered it well. So to answer it directly, no, it's not. It's not just a me problem. It's not just. I think everyone in the NP space would completely relate to. I would recommend a few books. One is the Surely You Must Be Joking, Mr. Feynman by Richard Feynman. I read him as ENTP, and if you look at his career trajectory, you can see that it had no direction at all. But he was also quite accomplished, and that's because he explored everything he explored and then turned around and made sense of it. It's almost like he explored and then happened to make a career out of it. I can't come up with any exact examples right now, but if you just look at the NP world, you might see that there are many people like you. All right. So I think that's really all the time we have today. I've gone over a little bit. So I'd like to thank you for joining. And that's my insight this time, which is movement, whether it is through thought or through action, requires letting go of being right. At least not being right away. Because instead, you find a clear edge to work with, and then you refine. I will announce the next live, and I will put links for the Discord, the Twitter, the channel in the description. And I'd like to thank everyone for attending. Thanks, Jordan, for attending. Thanks, Hegemonious. I really hope it is a pleasure for me to seek to provide as much value as I can. And this is an experiment for me as well as an INTP to find out what is like the greatest amount of value I can provide for you and the world. So, thanks for being on that journey with me. I'll see you next time. Have a great rest of the day Peace. For sure, Hegemonious. Thanks, guys. Oh, yep. See ya.